Okay, today on Breakdowns, we are looking at the seam play. Another play that everybody has in their playbook. And depending on how you run it is going to depend on what type of read this is. So this is one, we say corner off, middle close, middle open, coverage read, or all. When it comes to seam, I like this to be an all play. But it really depends on how you run your routes on the outside. We'll talk about that in a second. A lot of that will depend on what level you're at and the ability of your receivers to read the coverage. So if you don't adjust your receivers on the outside, I would say this becomes a coverage read. Okay, so let's draw up the concept first and foremost. So when we talk about seam, we're talking about these seams right here. And if you remember in the playbook, it starts with what we call an outside seam, or just a seam where we're going to burst outside. We're going to be a few yards outside the hash at the high school level, and we're going to just carry up the seam. So we're going to have the seam on both sides. On the outside, we're going to put some sort of a comeback. High school level, we run it at 14. NFL level, we ran it at 18. Just based on timing and being able to stretch this thing and get big plays on this. All right, so if we're going to run it like this, and we're going to run it at the high school level, and we're not going to ask our outside receivers to adjust their route, okay, now this becomes a play that is good against a middle closed look, and it's good against a corner off look. So basically, in our base coverages, we're talking about a cover 3 or a cover 1, and a cover 4 look. Let's start here with cover 3 because it's really, when you call double seam, this is what you're hoping to get. You're hoping to get one safety in the middle of the field, and that's who I'm reading on this particular play. I'm going to drop back. Does he shade to one side or the other? Okay, if the ball's on the hash, does he line up over the hash or does he line up in the middle of the field? But that's where this read is always going to start. We're going to attack down the field. We're going to read free safety first and try to see his movement of his hips, initial movement where he's at, where he goes on the snap, so we can throw opposite him to the seam. All right, that's pretty simple. Most guys that have played the position are going to understand that and what we're trying to attack here. Where it goes from there is we look at the free safety. Let's say the free safety goes off to the right, or you use your eyes and you move him off to the right-hand side, which brings you back to this F on the left-hand side. Okay, I'm going to throw the F. I'm set to throw the F, but as he releases, this strong safety happens to carry with him. So our eyes go from free safety back to our receiver or the strong safety to see if that strong safety carries. If that strong safety carries, because we have corner off, we're working right outside to our comeback and then to our check down. We'll talk about the check down a little bit later because the check down can be placed in a lot of different places on this particular play depending on what you're expecting to see from a defense. But for right now, we'll just put them on a weak side hook in this instance. So we're going to read this strong safety. If that strong safety carries, then we're thinking outside. If for some reason this linebacker works all the way to the outside, which I don't expect him to do, then we're going to drop it to our back. But we expect that read to come off of the strong safety. All right, something else that can happen on this play. Free safety once again goes to the right. I'm coming back to throw my seam. This time, the strong safety plays his responsibility and gets out under the flat, but the will linebacker, as he's dropping to the hook, he gets in the way, or he happens to see this and chase it, but he takes away that seam. You see, we've got the weak side check down with the back if we're expecting to go to that side. So now it's free safety read. We come back to the seam. The seam is taken away. Now who takes it away? Strong safety takes it away. We work outside to the comeback. Will linebacker takes it away by getting depth and getting into that area. Now we go to the check down. So our read can adjust a little bit based off of which defender is taking this play away on the weak side. I've got no problem as you drop back, you go free safety, you look to the seam. The seam's not there. You're not really sure why the seam isn't there. You just feel the defender in that area. No problem. Work to your comeback. There's a guy underneath your comeback. Bang, drop it right there to your back so you can read it either way. If you know who's taking it away right off the bat, that can make it easy. Now I just high-low the will linebacker and I've got seam to check down. If you're not sure, just stay with your progression. I'm coming back to the seam off the free safety. Somebody takes it away, peek at the comeback, somebody underneath that, get to your check down with your number 3. So that becomes the initial way that we read seam against a middle closed look, free safety in the middle of the field. It all starts with the free safety, and then as we're working through our progression, our throw is determined by what the linebackers do, where they go, do they carry, do they play their responsibility. All of those things will factor in, but we got to know where our eyes start, then where our eyes go. And I'm always going to tell you guys, there's going to be times when we're looking specifically at defenders. We're going to look specifically at this free safety, get our eyes on this free safety to know which way he goes. Then as we come back to the seam, sometimes it's not going to be so much based on the timing of getting our eyes on that defender at that point. We're coming back to throw the seam, and now we're feeling the coverage. We're feeling color there. We're feeling the opponent there. And so it doesn't really matter that your eyes are on him. You just feel like, oh, he's taking it away. Or, oh, I come out to throw my comeback, and there's somebody underneath that guy, because there's a combination on some of these where you don't have the ability to just look at a defender the whole time and then get to your read based on timing. You're getting set. You're going back to throw the seam. Oh, shoot, there's color there as I'm looking at the seam. There's color there as I'm looking at the comeback, and that's when you have to work your way through to the check down. Now, if you have the ability and the timing to be able to get your reads quick and get back there and see defenders, I'm always going to encourage eyes on defenders, because that helps us to know exactly where they're at. Sometimes we can get out here and we can feel color, but the color is at 5 yards and we can throw an 18-yard comeback over the top of him. So sometimes it's better to be able to get out there, see him with your eyes, locate exactly where he's at, and then determine whether you can make the over-the-top throw or you have to check it down. But that is all next level stuff on how quickly you can get through your reads. All right, so that is the middle closed version of how we run seam. All right, let's stay here with the corner off look, and let's go to a quarters look. Okay, so we got two safeties on the inside. Our corners are off on the outside. How does this change our read? Well, obviously, we don't have a safety to isolate in the middle of the field, so these seams, where they're going outside the two safeties. As we talked about in playbook, what we have our seam guys do, this is one of the plays where we have them read where the safety is. So if there's a safety over their head, they will adjust their route. They will turn it into more of an influence post, where it's a quick seam inside and attack the inside number of the safety on their side. And we actually have both of our guys bend on this play, because we tell them you cannot cross the middle of the field. That is the biggest no-no when it comes to a seam or an influence post with a safety over your head, is you got to keep it skinny, you got to cross his face, but you can't cross the middle of the field, because we don't know what's happening on the other side. And in this case, we don't want both of our receivers to run into each other as they're looking back for the football. So you keep it skinny and stay on your side of the field. So we'll erase this, because our receiver has read this correctly and has adjusted and gone to the inside. But here's the thing. Even though our receivers are going to the inside and their job is to beat the safety, the free safety or the strong safety, depending on their side, I am not a fan of reading this play inside against quarters coverage. First of all, these guys are taught to stay inside of number 2. Their job is to not let that guy get inside of them. Okay, so that's the first thing, is it's their responsibility to take that away. So I'm not going to just automatically assume that they're not going to do their job. Now, there will be times where the free safety stays high and wide, and in those cases where you see it pre-snap, you go, hey, this is one of those times where against a quarters coverage, I've got a chance to throw the inside seam. But normally, this guy's sitting in his position, he's sitting inside, and to throw this, it becomes really you beating the free safety with the throw. I'm never a guy that really likes a play where I have to beat someone with a throw. I want to have a play where I know I isolate one guy with two guys. I know that that guy can't be right, and now I have the chance to always be successful because he goes high, I throw it low. He goes inside, I throw it outside. This is not one of those cases. I have nothing that's threatening this free safety except this seam route. And it's threatening him to his responsibility. So if I sit here and wait on this and try to jam this in there, I am feeding right into what this defense wants me to do. So if I see a quarters coverage and those safeties are playing their normal responsibilities, they're playing inside my receivers, they're sitting at 12 yards, I like to go right outside with my read. Okay, don't even worry about the seam inside. And everybody I know fall in love with the seam. Oh, I want the big play. Middle open, I want to tack down the middle of the field. I get it. But all you're doing is putting yourself in trouble if you're going to try to jam it in to tight safeties, try to beat them across their face. Now it lends itself to the defense winning this route. So just keep it simple on yourself. Keep it simple, right? You look at both of these sides. What's your concern? Okay, my only concern if I go right outside is one of these outside backers working out underneath the comeback. So that's exactly what I'm reading right off the bat. I see those safeties in there. I'm getting outside. I'm going to get my eyes on these outside backers to see if they work hard. If they don't work hard, I am going to my best matchup, whether it be the corner that's further off or the X or Z that I like better, my go-to guy or the guy that runs the comeback better, whatever that may be. I'm going to go right out to my outside guy. I'm not even going to mess with anything inside. Don't worry about it. Be on time to the comeback. And if this will linebacker turns and buzzes, which he can do, but really his job is not to do that if the F goes vertical. He should hold inside. But if he turns and buzzes all the way outside, now we drop it to our back. And again, we're simplifying this game. Simplifying this game. I'm going to say this over and over again when you're reading things as a quarterback. How quickly can you simplify this game? How quickly can you eliminate defenders or eliminate, in this case, eliminate your inside receivers so you know I don't have to worry about all that. I want to know where my biggest advantage is against a defense, where I have the best chance to succeed, and I want to get there as quickly as I possibly can so I can be on time. I'll take a 14-yard comeback. I'll take an 18-yard comeback any day of the week instead of trying to jam the ball to the inside. How quickly and how simply can you make this game? That's really what it comes down to. I know it seems so complex with all these different things going on, but as a quarterback, simplify the game as quickly as possible and you're going to have the most success. Okay, so as we go back to this quarters coverage, right? Easy enough. Forget about the inside guys. You book them and say, hey, defense has the advantage on the inside. I have the advantage on the outside. I'm going outside and I'm going to attack outside right away. So we know what we like against corner off. Great play against corner off. Now the question becomes, based on how you run this, does this become a play that's good against all coverages or just corner off coverages? Here's what I mean. Okay, we're going to roll these corners up and we're going to go to a cover 2 look. All right, we go to a cover 2 look. We'll draw it up once again here on the outside. So we've got our comebacks to the outside. If you're locked on comebacks, okay, meaning at the high school level, I don't ask my guys to see all the coverages and be able to adjust it because it's just too hard. I've got a better sense of what defenses are going to do, so I'll call this play or I'll adjust this play to something else if I'm expecting to get more cover 2 because it doesn't become our favorite play because we don't adjust these guys on the outside. At other levels that I've been at, the higher levels, we always adjust our outside guys. So it's a comeback against any corner off or any soft corner that's bailing out of there and running out. Any hard corner, we turn this into a go route. Okay? Turn that into a go route. Now we go to our inside seams. What did we say? Our inside seams, if we've got a safety over our head, they will turn it into an influence post, just like they did on quarters. All right, so now if you have that adjustment on the outside, it gives you a huge advantage here to be able to run this play against anything. Off corners, they're going to run comebacks. I've got options out there, whether it's cover 3 or cover 4. But now if we got cover 2, it's not a great option. So if I'm not threatening this free safety deep to the outside and I'm stuck on a comeback, now he can squeeze to the inside. This corner sits underneath my comeback. Wherever my check down is, these backers don't have to widen because they have no responsibilities over there. So now they match to everything, and this play isn't great. We're forced to have to jam it into one of these inside seams or influences to the inside, and we have to beat the free safety or the strong safety with the throw. As I just told you before, I'm not a fan of just beating a guy with a throw. It can happen. It can be successful. I understand that, but that's to me not the way I want to play football. I want to know I have an advantage, and as long as I read it right, I've got a way to attack the defense, and that's what these adjustments do. Now these adjustments give us the ability to, I get a hard corner, now I can isolate this free safety 2-on-1. Now he is in a bind. Now if he goes wide, I go inside. He stays tucked inside, I go wide on the go route. So it's pick a side. Do you want to throw inside? Do you want to throw outside? Which safety's better? All of those things can become a factor based on where the football is, where the safeties are, who's got to cover more ground. If you're on the backside hash, front side safety's probably going to have to cover more ground, but it also makes it a longer throw for you. So you have to determine all of those things, but either way, and because we bend both of our guys, you have the option to attack the weaker safety, the safety that's not in a position to be able to stop both of them, and now I can go inside out, and I've got my whole shot on the outside or my up and over on the outside based off what the free safety does. Okay? The next question becomes, okay, is how is a team playing cover 2? So basic cover 2 is if their guy goes inside, these guys will carry. So if you're playing a basic cover 2 team that is going to carry with their linebackers if number 2 goes inside, I like this kind of check down that I have right here. So now, if I'm expecting to work off the weak side, or really either side, but if I'm expecting to work off of one side, I put my check down to that side. So now I know I've got a safety read, but if this safety widens, in this particular case, which takes me to the inside, but this will carries, now I have the ability to replace with my back. And so that's in a normal 2 carry or a regular cover 2 scenario, how a lot of teams like to play their cover 2. Okay? The new fad that everybody likes to play with their cover 2 is something that we call 2 Tampa. So in 2 Tampa, because the Tampa Bay Bucks back when I was playing were great at this and they made it popular, it becomes a combination between a cover 2 and a cover 3 because they use this Mike linebacker to carry to the deep middle of the field as long as they feel the Y or the F, depending on which side they're taught to go vertical. So if he goes vertical, I'm going to carry him vertical. So I almost become like a middle safety here. Okay, so if that's the case, we're going to adjust a few things, or we're going to read this a little bit differently if we're getting a team that plays Tampa 2. So if we're getting a team that plays Tampa 2, our read will still be off of a safety, but instead of going right to the safety, what I like to do is peek at the Mike linebacker first. If I expect him to drop deep and play Tampa 2, I got to peek at him first. So what I'm peeking at to see not whether he carries vertical, but which direction does he open. So on the snap of the ball, if he opens to his left or right, then I am going to automatically take my read to the backside away from him. Because if he turns and opens that way, right, and I come back to the other side and I've got that seam throw right now, I can make that seam throw. If I look at the free safety first and he widens and I haven't identified where the Mike is going and I want to go to that inside seam, now this Mike is carrying him, got eyes on him, he takes that away. So my first read in Tampa 2 is not the safeties, as it would be in a normal 2, it's going to be the Mike linebacker. He turns to his right, my left. Now my read's going to come off this free safety because I know that they're going to be in a bind on the outside and he's got no help from that underneath coverage. The other thing that I will adjust against a Tampa 2 team is I will adjust the check down. So if I know I'm getting a Tampa 2 team, I am going to make my check down right over the ball instead of one side or the other. So understanding what the defense is that you're playing against, yes, they're all versions of cover 2, but what type of version is it where you can get the biggest advantage or you need to use your back as a check down to attack where they're weakest? So if we know that this Mike linebacker is going to carry and we have an issue and we don't like what's going on down the field, let's replace that Mike linebacker with my tailback. I replace him, so if it gets a little cloudy or if I happen to not see this Mike linebacker and I read this side and the free safety widens and I go to throw the inside seam and the Mike's there, boom, I know I've got my check down that can replace him in that situation so I can high-low that Mike linebacker even if I mess up the read from the get-go or I'm not at a point where I can read Mike to free safety or strong safety and get through it that way. Now I have to adjust my play concept as a coach. Hey, we're at the lower levels. I've got to do more of the work for my players. So now I got to know what they're going to do. How do I make it easier? Okay, let me put my check down here. So if that Mike carries either side and my quarterback's looking there and he becomes an issue, that check down is right where he's voiding, right in the face of my quarterback, and I make it easier on him. So little small adjustments based on the different coverages that allow you to have a little bit more success, but it's all about knowing what you're getting. It's all about knowing on the outside what's the capability of my receivers, and that becomes extremely important for all of us. It becomes extremely important for a quarterback to understand if we can't make those adjustments, what are my limitations on a play? What chances do I have, if I'm a coach, to know the same things? Do I want to call this play if we can't make the adjustment, if a team likes to roll to cover 2 at times, or do I have a better play that can attack that and give my quarterback answers? So that's what it's all about. Try to make the game simple. Cover 3, great. We can use our double seams to attack that free safety, then work off those outside backers. Quarters, yes, you can try to jam it into the seams inside, but it causes more problems. Forget about it. You don't have to swim upstream when you've got one-on-ones on the outside that are easy with nobody underneath them. Just go take the easy one and live for another day when you can get that big play against a cover 2 or a cover 3. And then, of course, against cover 2, if you can adjust, we've got our 2-on-1. We love this play against all coverages with that adjustment. And then you've just got to know, where do I put my check down? Where's my check down located? What gives me the biggest problem as a quarterback? So love the seam concept, but a lot of nuances that go into it. And as a quarterback, a lot of stuff to process. As a coach, a lot of stuff to teach depending on what your guys are capable of.